Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome to this conversation between Restaurant and Cafe Magazine and Julie White from Hospitality New Zealand. Hi Julie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi Sophie, thanks so much for having us.
No worries. So we're going to talk a little bit about COVID and how it's affected the hospitality industry. So why don't we start, just in case anyone's watching who doesn't know what Hospitality New Zealand does, why don't you just give us a little bit of background about what you guys do?
Yeah, so Hospitality New Zealand is here to give a lending hand to anyone in hospitality. So that's anyone in the food and beverage game or in accommodation. So we have around 3,000 members, 2,000 of them are either restaurants, cafes or bars, and 1,000 of them sit in commercial accommodation.
Nice. So what kind of queries or regular concerns or questions did you have coming from the industry before the pandemic hit?
It's really interesting. The questions and concerns before COVID really have just escalated through COVID. You know, our skill shortage, we have been crying out to government for greater support. And I think COVID's really brought that to the table about what lack of focus and support that the government has given hospitality. So, you know, if you have a look at the very flawed immigration approach to the essential skills, you know, not even having chefs on that is really falling short and really hurting our members. Again, the ANZCO list is what we are advocating to get rid of. ANZCO list, it's out of date. The fact that duty managers aren't in there, you know, is really problematic. So I suppose going back, it was people and skills. It was the lack of understanding of hospitality at central government, which was really concerning, but that still continues to be a problem, which we're advocating for a Minister of Hospitality. And I suppose, yeah, it's really around supporting our industry for a greater sustainability, and that is a hand-in-glove approach by sector and government.
Yeah, do you think that some of the issues we've seen is because we don't have that specific hospitality minister in the government, whereas other industries do?
Yeah, I actually think it's twofold. It's the lack of knowledge and understanding in central government across even the agencies. They really don't understand our industry. We are lumped in with tourism. Absolutely, we're hand in glove. You know, here we invite all these wonderful international tourists to New Zealand. So when they get here, what do we need to do? We need to feed them. We need to house them. You know, so I feel that they've really fallen short in that value piece where hospitality and tourism meet. Yeah, so I think it's not just at ministerial level, I think it's also in the agency level.
Yeah, so we really need some people who are willing to really work with experts in the hospitality industry to make that a more sort of cohesive thing, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're the best placed people to feed into that, what we really need. Another really big issue prior to COVID, which again has escalated, especially vulnerability of having less income, is the over-regulation of our industry. You know, I don't know of another industry that is so regulated, you know, from food safety, you know, to harm minimization. You know, the irony is at our core is to look after people, and that's manakitanga. So we do that in a day in and day out. Customers are at core in our industry, but yet government just keep putting more regulations, and the cost of compliance really makes it hard to turn profit.
Yeah, and that's sad because we really want like great people in the hospitality industry. We want people to be drawn to that industry. And if the system isn't set up for them to do really well in it, people aren't going to want to go into that industry, are they?
Yeah, and I think that's another point of government. I think they just label us as low skill and low paid.
Oh, I worked in the hospitality industry for about 13 years. I know that that's, you know, not the case. There are incredibly talented and hardworking, great people throughout the hospitality
Absolutely.
industry.
our industry has both vertical and horizontal. It's also a springboard. Who nearly hasn't worked in hospitality?
Yeah.
Especially those university goers, part-time, we're an enabler. And I think that's a value piece that the government don't really understand. And I think that filters right down at the school level, and the fact that we're gateway, we're not NCQA, we're not a university entrance course, there's parent stigma, there's an unconscious bias from parents, that it's,
real job, that sort of thing.
yeah. So, and it's really sad because I think, rightly or wrongly, they don't understand that it's not just front of house, back of house. You've got accountants, marketers, but the real value piece of having a really high skilled restaurateur, that is able to manage a business, great customer service, and really adds to the community and the economy by having this available. I think it just it lands on deaf ears. My recent conversation to Treasury was it's fantastic that we have won the FIFA World Cup, the women's. That's fantastic. But when they get here, they're going to need a world-class experience. And food and beverage and accommodation is right up at the top of that delivery. So we really need to be able to survive and actually to deliver and support that world-class experience. I just think this is where they fall short. They just don't understand it.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to the election and seeing if whether the same or a new government can bring something new to the table?
Yeah, we're in the middle of writing our briefing to the incoming ministers. So whatever way that lands, our advocacy won't change. It is to bring in a Minister of Hospitality, or at least dedicate an agency to the hospitality sector, and also make it part of Tourism New Zealand. Make sure there's food tourism moving forward. I'm part of the Tourism Task Force, and that's my message to them is when we come out of this, let's come out of this better and stronger and make sure that we actually have food tourism, as part of the value piece. Yeah, so look, I'm looking forward to the election being over so we can just get on with it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, makes sense. Is there any specific queries or concerns that have come directly from the pandemic that you've heard from people that weren't sort of there before the pandemic hit?
Oh, look, not really. I think it's just really escalated what we knew that the government just doesn't understand, doesn't value. We also are advocating really strong to halt the minimum wage. This is not the time. I think the Prime Minister did say that she has plans to continue, but she also, on the other hand, acknowledges that our industry has been one of the hardest hit. Yet there's no targeted support. So if there's no support, help us out with compliance costs. How delay the minimum wage, just to give us the opportunity to recover.
I think that's important. I think we've sort of already answered this, but what would Hospitality New Zealand like to see from the next government in regards to
we want to see a priority given to hospitality and its value, like keeping in mind it generates $11 billion and employed 170,000 people. This is prior to COVID. So, we will recover, we will get back that. So make sure that we're at the forefront. We firmly believe that we are an integral part of the road to recovery economically in New Zealand. So they really need to take us seriously. Yeah, and they really need to look at a targeted support. It doesn't actually always necessarily result in money. It can be in regulation, making it easier for our industry to operate. That's actually our call first and foremost, is reduce the compliance and the cost around compliance, and then give us a hand up so we can help ourselves move forward.
Nice, I like it. What do you think, could you maybe talk about maybe 3 things that hospitality business owners should focus on for our new normal. Is there 3 sort of main things, or I don't know, a few main things that owners specifically should be sort of thinking about going into the future?
Yeah, I think my top tips is around know your business, know your numbers. The Prime Minister always talks about pivoting, but in actual fact, not everything we do is broken, but I suppose it's around that productivity, re-looking at your costs, have a look at your menu. Rather than having 50 items, maybe reduce it down to 12, making, look for efficiencies. Also side hustles. I actually recommend this is now the time to look at, okay, your core business might have been a dine-in restaurant, but you might have to create a side hustle, and the side hustle might be in-home dining, actually take your restaurant experience to the home. Or like a lot of our members try to pivot and do takeaway, but it came at additional cost. So how do you create that takeaway option at reduced cost? So looking at maybe a different menu option. And technology would be my third recommendation, is getting that efficiencies. And that's everything from accounting through to your website, making sure that you're visible to capture the customer and making sure that you convert that customer. There has been a real change in the customer keeping close to home now, so it's really important, especially if you're a CBD property, making sure that you're attracting those customers and converting them. So highly recommend look at your digital strategy.
Yeah, I'd have to say one of the silver linings that's come, I think, from the pandemic is how much ingenuity we've seen from people. Yep. So people like doing sort of, these really, really interesting new things on social media, new things with digital technology. I think that's something we could take out of it as a positive that we can see from it.
Yeah, I think it has fast forwarded technology, like even the booking your meal from your app and then it comes to your table and it's already paid for. So using that technology piece to enhance your customer experience. But I still think right at the core of this is look at customer service. Love your customer, because at the end of the day, that's our difference. When we actually welcome people into our venue, it's because they're after an experience. We've got great venues, great food, and we really need to wrap that around with that customer service, because at the end of the day, that's why we go out. We want to go out, we want to celebrate occasions, we want to get connected, we want to be social. So I suppose that's actually what hasn't changed, is the benefit of being social, and that's what hospitality brings.
Oh yeah, definitely. I sort of covered that. That was sort of the biggest lessons we can learn from COVID. I think, COVID's really taught us that we do have a lot of hardworking and ingenuity in the hospitality industry. And I think if that's supported, then we could be, we could come back really strong, I think, as long as it's supported in the right way.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. We've had recently some fantastic conversations with MSD. And we are really close to announcing the kickoff of the Hospitality Springboard. And that is, to your point, is around looking after our staff, make sure that we're upskilling them. So making sure that when we recover post-COVID, that our actual industry is stronger, so that we have a workforce that has greater people and capability in it. We have better technology. So this is the time this is our priority. We're looking at our industry as connecting government with our members to say, what is really relevant. And our call to government is, what's relevant for us is enabling our members to train up people in their venue, because we're the ones who best know what skills we actually need, as opposed to, having these great courses that when we get people land in our venues, that we still need to do a whole lot of training. So, you know, getting back to that apprenticeship, you know, yeah, so that's one of the priorities that we're going to look for. And we think that's a road to recovery to sustainability.
Nice. That sounds really cool. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, no, I just think what's proven as soon as we go into level 1 is how important our sector is. We get money flowing in the economy really quickly, but more importantly, we get people connected. You know, it doesn't matter where you're located in New Zealand, whether you're up in Northland or whether you're in the cities, you know, people want to get connected. And as much as there is this trend on, you know, working from home, we have actually seen a growth in people going out and wanting to be social since the borders are shut. So this is why it's so important that the government support our industry, because we are the road to recovery.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, the hospitality industry definitely means a lot to me, having been in it for a while. So it's really nice to hear that Hospitality New Zealand is there, really looking for that support, really, you know, getting stuck in with government. And it makes me feel really good about my hospo fan hours being looked after, which is nice.
Yeah, no, thanks. Well, I suppose the parting message is that we are in contact with government weekly, and it's relentless, you know, so from whether it's immigration, whether it's workplace, yeah, we are constantly flying the flag and asking for support for our industry, and that won't change.
Excellent. That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today, Julie. This was a fantastic conversation. I think people will really enjoy and get a lot out of knowing what Hospitality New Zealand is doing for the hospitality industry. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sophie. And just a really big call out to everyone in hospitality. Thank you for everything you do. It's, we really appreciate it.
You do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
You too.
Right. Bye.